welcome to the first of our minor key chord progressions, that is the minor 1-4-5 progression. We'll be using examples in the key of A minor, that's the relative minor key of C major, which is to say the key with no sharps or flats. So we'll be constructing our chords from the natural minor scale. Let's remind ourselves of the A natural minor scale. And we build the chords in the familiar way by stacking alternate notes from the scale. So for our one chord we take notes 1, 3 and 5. This gives us the intervals of a minor third and a perfect fifth, creating a minor triad. This should come as no surprise. This is after all the tonic chord of a minor key, so we should be expecting a minor chord. We can also notice that the one chord of a minor key is the same as the sixth chord of the relative major key, and we've already seen that the sixth chord of a major key is a minor triad in our examination of the 6-2-5-1 progression. So from our one chord we move up the scale to note 4, take notes 4, 6 and 8, giving us another minor triad. Now a little elementary arithmetic will tell us that the 4 chord in a minor key corresponds to the 2 chord in the relative major key, and once again we've already seen that the 2 chord in major keys is a minor triad. Now the 5 chord in the minor key is equivalent of the 3 chord in the relative major. That's a chord we haven't yet encountered, so let's take a quick look. Take notes 5, 7 and 9 of the natural minor scale, and we have once more a minor triad. So now we have a complete 1-4-5 progression consisting of 1 minor, 4 minor and 5 minor. In our example key of A, this gives us the chords of A minor, D minor and E minor. So there's a perfectly usable chord progression that follows all our rules of harmonisation, and it sounds pretty good. However, you will find that many composers and songwriters will choose to replace the 5 minor chord with a major chord, giving us the chord progression 1 minor, 4 minor, 5 major, or in key of A minor, A minor, D minor, E major. Now this might strike you as a little odd. After all, we've now got a chord in our progression which contains a note that doesn't properly belong in the key we're supposed to be playing in. So why would anybody choose to do this? Well, as with so many things, it all comes down to cadences, and specifically the perfect cadence, that is the 5-1 progression. Now we've said that the perfect cadence is far away the most popular cadence in European musical styles, so it's worth taking a moment now to explore why that should be. If we consider for a moment our perfect cadence in major keys, so we'll move temporarily from the key of A minor to the key of A major, where we have the perfect cadence of E major to A major. And take a look at what's happening in this chord progression in detail. Our E major chord consists of the root E, the third G sharp and the fifth B. Our A major chord consists of the root A, third C sharp, fifth E. Now if we voice these chords so that the notes appear in the sequence they appear in the scale, that is 1, 3, 5 and 1, 3, 5. One distinctive thing about this chord progression is the movement from the third of the 5 chord to the root of the 1 chord. That is a movement of 1 semitone, in this example from G sharp to A. So within the overall chord movement we can hear this semitone movement to the root of the tonic chord. And it seems it's this semitone step that gives the 5-1 progression its distinctive sound. If we play it in full chords, it makes a very satisfying finish to a chord progression or a song. Now, if we consider the equivalent minor key chord progression, that's the perfect cadence in A minor, that's the chord sequence E minor to A minor. Once again, if we look at the individual notes, we see we now have on the 5 chord the root E, the minor third G natural, and the 5th of B, and then in the A minor chord we have the root of A, third of C natural, and again the 5th of E. So we've now lost this semitone step between the third of the 5 chord and the root of the 1 chord. Instead we have a whole tone step from G natural to A. Or in full chords. Now, back in the mists of time, the classical scholars and music theorists decided that this semitone step in the perfect cadence was so important that it was worth bending the rules slightly and allowing themselves to use a major 5 chord in a minor key perfect cadence. So we now restored the semitone movement from the third of the 5 chord to the root of the 1 chord. In doing so, restored that sense of finality that comes with the perfect cadence. Okay, so that's why we do that. So in the remaining examples through this series, I shall be sticking to that convention and using a major 5 chord in all our minor key chord progressions. However, you should keep in mind that the 5 minor chord is still a perfectly valid chord to use, particularly if you're not using it as part of a perfect cadence, and also that the minor triad is the appropriate chord for a 3 chord in a major key. That's all for now. In our next video we're going to be taking a look at the 2-5-1 progression in minor keys, in the course of which we'll be meeting a new type of triad. So I hope you're able to join me for that one, and we'll see you then.